Hello everybody and welcome back to World of Tanks, and today I've got a tank review on the brand new British Tier 8 Premium Tank Destroyer, God that's a mouthful, the GSOR 1008, the most catchy name in World of Tanks. No, it's crap. But yeah, today I'm going to be going through what this tank is all about, comparing its stats to some other vehicles. I will go through the stats, obviously. I'll then explain my setup, so equipment and ammunition, a couple of little bits of crew skills, and then we will go into some ace tanker gameplay. I will put the timestamp in the description for what time the gameplay starts, so if you don't want to watch all about this tank and you just want to see the gameplay, then feel free to skip through to that time. For any of those of you who are still with us, let's jump into Tanks GG and we'll go down the stats of the vehicle and compare it to some others. Into the stats, and first things first, there's a really weird-ass bunch of tanks that I'm going to be comparing this thing to. So we've got the GSOR on the left, the AMX AC-48 next to it, because it's, as far as I can remember, the only other Tier 8 auto-loading tank destroyer. Then you have the T-77, which is a heavy tank, and then the T-69, which is a medium tank. So a very, very, very mixed bunch of tanks in this comparison, and that will become quite apparent why that is as we get into the comparisons. First of all, the GSOR has a 105mm gun. It's pretty decent for a tank destroyer, kind of, similar to the Charioteer, but this is more of a medium tank, and I'm going to say this now, actually. I'm going to be comparing this thing as if it was a medium tank as opposed to a tank destroyer, and again, that will become very, very clear when you see what this thing is all about. So 105 for this type of tank. Very, very good caliber gun. Does 320 average damage, which is very nice. And because it's an autoloader, it has 4 shells in the clip, doing 1280 clip potential, which is, I believe, one of the highest clip potentials at Tier 8. With a 2-second inch clip reload, very, very nice. Nothing like 2.5, 2.7, anything along those lines. As distinctively an American inch clip reload, not very French. Which means that you can do that 1280 damage within 6 seconds. The shell velocity on the standard rounds is very nice. The penetration of 226 is very low for a Tier 8 tank destroyer. However, if you put it as a Tier 8 medium tank, it's actually in and around the right ballpark. The thing is as well, this thing gets absolutely insane APCR rounds of 321mm of penetration, and they have a shell velocity of 1411, so you can just annihilate things with these APCR rounds, which is very, very nice. Ammo capacity of 40 rounds, which is actually towards the low side, and I would recommend not taking much HE, if any. I don't actually take any, but 1 clip, if you really fancy it, is not that bad. I haven't actually looked at the HE. The HE's alright, 53 pen and 420 average damage. But 12,000 damage is still the same amount of shells as the T69, but obviously the shells just do more. Moving on to the gun handling, 2.3 seconds aim time. Very, very good, especially compared to everything else in this comparison. 0.34 dispersion as well. It's a surprisingly accurate tank. 0.37 on the AMX AC and the T77, and 0.38 on the T69, which is not very good. Dispersions are not particularly good. The dispersion on turret traverse, I did actually notice this when playing the game. Very, very good. So as you just sit still and turn the turret, your aim circle doesn't bloom hardly at all. However, as soon as you move or traverse the tank, it blooms out massively. So if you do play the tank as a tank destroyer, this works really well, and this works in your favour, that aim time and that dispersion. If you're playing it like a medium tank moving, obviously it becomes a lot worse. 10 degrees of gun depression? 11 degrees of gun depression. Best in class, I'm pretty sure. I think the only things that are better than this are the Comet, which is Tier 7 medium tank, which you don't really need to worry about, and the Swedish tanks, which is absolutely ridiculous. 11 degrees gun depression. 10 degrees of elevation does present issues at times. You need to kind of wedge your tank up as opposed to wedging your tank down, because you've actually got worse elevation than depression, which is quite rare on tanks. Also, a fully traversable turret, which is a very, very, very big advantage for this tank. Obviously, this is now why you're seeing it's more like a medium tank than a tank destroyer. Mobility, that's going to go even more in the favour of this thing actually being a medium tank. It goes 60 forwards and 17 backwards, a very nice reverse speed. Horsepower per tonne is a little on the low side at only 14.6. But it does have good terrain resistances, which actually makes up for that a little bit. Probably not to the same extent as the rest of these tanks, which are all pretty similar in terms of mobility. But it's still not bad by a long shot. Turret traverse at 28 degrees a second. Again, that's showing more of its tank destroyer colours, because if it was a medium tank, it'd be up more towards your 35s to 40s. And a tank traverse as well of 28, again, more like your tank destroyer than your medium tanks. Armor we'll come on to in a second. 1200 HP, so a decent amount of hit points, especially again tank destroyers relatively on the low side, and this is more towards the top end of the TDs, unless you include things such as the Ferdinand or AT-15, but they're more heavy assault vehicles than, you know, light, nimble, agile kind of things. Because this thing is a tank destroyer, when you're sat still, it is actually surprisingly stealthy at 17.73 base camo rating, which obviously with crew skills and everything like that, you can get that up if you want to play this tank as more of a stealthy tank. And 370 meters view range, which is in and around abouts at tier 8. A little on the low side maybe, but not too bad at all. The standard rounds of this tank do cost 1200 credits per shot, so it is quite expensive to fire, so missing shells a lot is going to really eat into your profit. However, it is still a tier 8 premium tank, so it still will make a decent amount of profit, as long as you're not literally just firing shells off left, right and centre, shooting at random trees and houses that take your fancy, to be honest. So yeah, all in all, as you can see, this tank, it very much is a hybrid. You can set it up in two ways, and I'll show you this when it comes to the equipment. You can set it up as a tank destroyer, go for camo, sit at range, use the accuracy, use the aim time, and deliver that 1200 clip potential, just smash people from range. Or you can set it up more like a medium tank and use your speed, your mobility, use your equipment to get the aim time, the dispersions down, and get your crew skills up a bit so you can get turret traverse and tank traverse time down a bit, and actually play this thing as more of a medium tank and kind of try to trade 1 or 2 shots for your full clip potential. And that's something that I've been doing a lot, especially to like heavy tanks, especially low tier heavy tanks. I haven't really played a lot against low tier, but I remember one of the first games I played in this tank, I faced off against T29. He missed me with his shot. I put my full clip into him and killed him and pulled back. Unfortunately, I took a shell from, I think it was an IS-22 or something like that as I pulled back, but I effectively, against the T29, traded his whole tank for no damage, which is ridiculous. The DPM, you are going to suffer. I think I forgot to say, the clip reload of this thing at 45 seconds is ridiculous. You have to have an exit strategy in this tank. You can't sit there, like, do your full clip and then be like, right, the enemy tanks are allowed to push me now, because within your 45 seconds and you're only having 1200 HP, they are going to kill you. They just simply are. If we quickly look at the armor, best I can say for the armor. You can see, if I show you the visual model, here we go. It's kind of a funky looking tank. The turret looks like it should be really good in places and really bad in places, but there's not many flat angles to this thing. The side armor is 50.8 millimeters, which is actually quite an important number, because 50.8 means you can't be overmatched by 152mm guns. This is your ISUs, your SU-152s, and even if you are unfortunate enough to get up-tiered, your Object 268s, 2684, 7058, all of your 152mm guns you can bounce. You still struggle and get overmatched by 155s, so your T30s, your Foch 155s, your E4s, your E3s, and everything like that. So that's just something to be careful of if you do decide to side scrape in this tank. Turret armor, not particularly good. You will really be able to bully, look, if we use the 11 degrees of gun depression, you'll be able to bully tier 6 and tier 7 tanks with this turret armor, but you know, your lower plate is only 76.2, so most things are going to be able to go through that. The upper plate can be quite bouncy. I have bounced shots off it, especially this like middle bit here, the top of the upper plate, which really is quite steeply angled, and again 50.8 millimeters. So if you're firing at this thing with a 152 millimeter gun, that is all ricochet angle. If it's 155, you are going to overmatch it, which is really, really weird. The roof as well, for some reason, has 25 on this side and 38 on this side. Not sure if that's a bug with the armor model or not. And the roof can be overmatched by most things in the middle. So if you are facing one of these things who's showing a little bit too much roof, you can overmatch him straight above the gun. I wouldn't say to the left or to the right, because I don't know if this is an actual thing or if this is just the tank model slightly glitched. So best bet is to aim just above the gun. But yeah, the armor, it's not great. Not by a long shot, but it's a bit like the Shah Future 4's armor. It can bounce stuff occasionally, and sometimes you get really weird angles and things like that. Like if they're shooting at your side and hit this bit, that's going to ricochet, but then this side of the kind of breach opens up, and yeah, it's got funky angles, so you've got to be careful, but it's not gonna reliably bounce anything. Right, let's jump back into the garage, and I'll go through my equipment and crew skills and everything like that. So, first thing we're going to start with is our equipment. And obviously, you can set this thing up in lots of different ways. It is a tank destroyer, so you get the firepower slot in this tank. View range, like I said, is pretty good. So, with my complete setup, I have got over 445. I've gone with... I am kind of experimenting, so I may change this, so don't take this as gospel, but I've gone with improved rotation. This is similar to a vert stab, where it is better with the dispersions whilst moving, which is obviously a key weakness to this tank. It also increases turret traverse and vehicle traverse, which again, like I said, are the kind of the three things that make this thing more of a tank destroyer than a medium tank. So buffing all of those things, you can clearly see straight away that I am putting this thing straight towards being more of a medium tank. Now, if you wanted to, you could potentially drop this if you wanted to play more like a tank destroyer, put vents in the firepower slot, and then either use something like low exhaust to increase your camo whilst moving and everything like that. Camo net if you wanted to. You could even set it up full tank destroyer and go camo net and binos, although I think that would be pretty stupid. Or you could go fully the other way, and you could drop the vents like I've gone and fit a turbocharger to make this tank slightly faster. Or if you're relying on your team more, and I don't know, potentially if I get what am I trying to say? Those two skills, situational awareness and recon, fully kitted on this tank, I could potentially make an argument to drop the optics and go for a turbocharger, but I'm going to kind of see what it is. I've kind of gone for a setup that I think is the best of all worlds. Definitely the rotation mechanism. I think that is your number one piece of equipment for this tank. I then think vents and optics are kind of... You can never have too much view range, and vents is obviously just improves absolutely everything about the tank. You could specialise more, like I said, towards a medium tank and go turbocharger, or you could go more for the tank destroyer kind of setup and go for camo net, low exhaust, or even binos. But that's kind of up to you guys. I have gone with a premium consumable. I haven't been set on fire in this tank yet, and obviously it being a premium tank, even if you don't have a premium account, you're gonna definitely still make credits. Although in saying that, if you've got this tank already, you've probably got some premium account because you had to buy boxes, and unless you got incredibly lucky by only buying like 3 boxes and getting this vehicle, you've probably at least got a little bit of premium account anyway. So make the most of it and just make loads of money. You've also got obviously the credit bonus at the minute as well and everything like that. The crew of this tank is actually kind of disappointing because it doesn't fit in any other of the British tank destroyers properly. Neither the 4005 or the Badger, and I don't think it fits in any of the tanks all the way back. So what I've actually done with this tank is gone for a specialised crew, which obviously takes away from one of the big benefits of it being a premium tank, is the free crew training. But I feel like because this tank only has 3 crew members, there is a lot of strain on the commander, and I don't want to be wasting crew skills. Obviously, I have so many other premium tanks, and I don't really play my British TDs that much that I need to crew train them massively. So I'm actually just going to stick to a specialist crew for this tank. I'm kind of hoping that maybe one day they release a full branch of British auto-loading tank destroyers, but I honestly don't think that is going to be the case anytime soon. I may be wrong, I hope I'm wrong, but I don't think I am. The commander is the radio operator and a loader. The gunner is also a loader, and the driver is just a standalone driver. So there are obviously so many crew skills that you need to be getting on your commander. I'm not going to go through crew skills individually. Obviously, it's going to depend on how you're setting this tank up. For example, my next skill is going to be probably go for repairs, because I play it more like a medium tank. If you set it up more like a tank destroyer, you probably want to go with more things such as camo and stuff like that. I've obviously gone for things like smooth ride and snapshot. Again, more like a medium tank than a tank destroyer. Maybe with a tank destroyer you want to go for Deadeye, or I'm trying to think of other gunner skills. Armorer, if you're sitting more at the back. A designated target maybe, so that if you're targeting a vehicle it stays spotted for longer. Things along those lines. But obviously that is up to you guys. If you really want more recommendations on crew skills, then just let me know in the comments and I will try my best to answer your questions. But yeah, other than that, that is pretty much everything you need to know about the GSOR. I know I've been going on for quite a long time, but this is actually quite a complicated tank to talk about because of its hybrid role between medium and a tank destroyer that I don't think many other tanks in the game actually have. It has got a 105 L7A1 gun, which, to be fair, I would have kind of liked to have seen this thing maybe 3 shells and 390 with, like, you know, basically the Charioteer's gun. But at the same time, I think that would have probably been a bit too powerful. As it is, I honestly really like this thing. I haven't been playing it that well. I mean, I've played 12 games in it, 2,400 average damage. That's good. I'm happy with that. But I feel like it honestly has more potential than that. And I've actually not been playing as well as I would have liked today, as you can see from my Basante and my 274 game. I would like these more towards, you know, the 274 game. 2,500 average damage, not 2,200. Obviously, if I'm playing better or you're playing worse, and this depends on how you play. But definitely, this tank is a very, very, very strong tank. I would highly recommend it. Obviously, before you go buying a load of Christmas boxes, go take a look at my Christmas box video, because at the end I say, you know, don't buy them unless you're buying them for gold or premium time, because just gambling on trying to get this thing is not worth it. I would recommend, if you only want this tank, wait, and hopefully Wargaming will release it as a standalone tank at some point. If you're watching this video when Wargaming have released it as a standalone tank, 100% recommend getting this vehicle. It's a very, very, very good tank. But enough waffling. Let me show you what this thing can do. Let's go jump into the Ace Tanker gameplay. So, here we go, guys, into the gameplay. And we are on Prokhorovka. We have got the South Spawn, and it is a full tier 8 matchup. 1 artillery, 1 light tank on each team. And unfortunately for us, our light tank doesn't connect the entire game. Fortunately for us, their links has crashed within the first 20 seconds, which I'm not even sure how that's actually possible, and I don't actually know where he crashed, which is quite funny. Now, Prokhorovka, I'm in a tank destroyer. Where would you usually expect me to sit? 1-2 line, back in the magical mystical forest, or up on the hill? Nope, I'm actually playing the GSOR in the mid-ridge. You can see here the really nice aim time, the pretty decent accuracy of the tank is allowing me to put shots into this T-34-2. I actually hit that Panther 2 blind there, I'm pretty sure. I mean, I rolled for exactly 320 if I did, which would make sense. Nothing else on my team that I believe can see him can roll for 320. Well, the Brask can, but I don't think the Brask fired. Meaning that our first clip, we actually did full damage. I'm not 100% sure on the exact number because I don't know if that was actually my shot or not. But you can see, moving up to the mid-ridge, we got a good first clip in. You can also see the fact that moving in this tank blooms out the aiming circle really quite a lot, even with my equipment set up and everything like that. However, if there is an opportunity where I sit still and just move the turret, you also see that the reticule doesn't bloom hardly at all, which is very, very nice. So, you also saw there, massively long reload. That base reload on this tank, the full clip reload is so long. However, when you do get to make the clip work, it's very, very nice indeed. As you saw to that T-34-2, we did 919 damage to him within like 8 seconds or something, or definitely within 10 seconds, and that is absolutely insane to do. See me sitting, I'm waiting because our Brask is actually playing very, very well. He's kind of pushing up. I get a bit confused what happens here. As soon as the 53 TP pushes up, he starts to fall back. I start looking at the Carnarvon. You kind of see me moving the camera angle there. I kind of do this with the camera angle to see if he can see, like, get me spotted or not. Obviously, like I said before, because this is actually a tank destroyer, if I can try not to move, it works a lot better for me. And typically, as soon as I move, the T-32 gets spotted. I then aim, 1 shot, 2 shots, 3 shots. He's down, and I decide, instead of keeping 1 shell in the container, I go for a reload. You'll notice as well this game that pretty much every single time I hit that reload, I let my team know that I'm reloading, because I'm in quite a key position. I need to let my team know, and for some reason, it actually happens twice this game, and I'll point it out when it happens again. This 53 TP decides to go ham, and I'm reloading for another 21 seconds. I'm not going to be able to help you. He gets to the point where he gets spotted, and then he just gets absolutely just minced by everything that's sitting at the back there for the enemies, and I'm not actually loaded in enough time to really help him. I fire 1. Bounce off the side of the 274, not really sure where that went. Fire another blind, and I think, well, potentially I could attract him. I fire another 1 blind, but unfortunately don't manage to kill him. So at least one of those blind shots missed, more than likely. Now I did get spotted. Wait, did I get spotted there? I can't actually remember if I got spotted there. I do back off a little bit, and it's now that the Brask is kind of sitting in more of a passive position. I turn my attention away from the forest completely and start to think more of these heavy tanks in the middle, because most of our tanks, or the area we've got the most concentration of tanks, is up on the hill, and I do not want them to get picked off because they are getting spotted by, I believe that's a Brask, I think that's the Ag Tiger 88 and something else. So I start to work on the Carnarvon. Put 1, 2, 3 bounces, and I don't think it's worth staying there for the 4th. We bounce the 53 TPs round, 420 damage blocked. Very nice there. Not sure where he bounced. Can we see it anywhere on the armor? Nope. So I don't really know where he bounced there, but I deemed it not necessary to stay up on that ridge for any longer than I needed. Putting those shells into the Carnarvon, however, has meant that he's started to now move across to this side of the map, which then takes a bit of pressure off our tanks up on the hill, because obviously a Carnarvon, 280 damage, quick reloading tank, fires quite fast as well. It's a real danger for these guys, and moving him across to this side of the map is obviously a lot better for us. I believe that was the T-28 prop, fired a shell across him. You kind of see me going up here, making sure that I'm trying to keep this rock between me and anybody sitting at the back. We do manage that, which means that we put 1 and then 2 shots into the tank. The 53 TP unfortunately manages to get one into my side, and he high rolls by quite a lot as well. having that 420 alpha actually rolling for 489. Again, I go for a full reload because I had 2 shells left and there was no obvious shots at the time, and there was no obvious tanks pushing that I was going to be able to get shots anytime soon. So it's better, like, even if tanks get spotted now, at least I'm like 20 seconds into my reload rather than only having 2 shots or only having just started my reload. Looking at the map and the overall situation of the game, we've managed to kill 5 enemy tanks, well, 4 and 1 idiot. With 3 tanks down, but like I said, this LT-432 hasn't actually connected to the game, so he is going to be of no help to us. We still have a lot more tanks on the east side of this map, so I'm going to try and support the east to allow us to win. Yag Tiger 88, T69, and a Baras. The T69... Oh, no, sorry. Oh, the 53 TP. I was like, the T69 gets killed, but he doesn't. He's still there. He just got unspotted. The 53 TP gets killed by our Barask from the E1 position. Fortunately for us as well, the Barask didn't actually get spotted whilst doing that, which is very, very nice. You see there, as soon as I move, the aim circle blooms out so much that I do try and fire quite a speculative shot at the enemy Barask. It doesn't hit. I didn't expect it to really hit. And we've only got 2 shells left. Again, not a lot's happening. You don't have good shots anymore, and this is where our Barask decides to charge, and I'm like, oh, Barask. I say ready to fire, 2 shells in the container to try and like let him know, look, I'm not fully loaded. You probably, like, I wanted to wait. I wanted to hit reload at this point, but it looked like this Barask was going to do what he's about to do, which is push up, and I thought me having 2 shells is better than me having no shells, but it's still not going to be enough, unfortunately, to keep this Barask alive. Again, he pushes in. He's got no other support, I don't believe, other than me. He takes a very big shot. I don't know what that was from, whether it was 1 round or 2 rounds. GSOR and the 2748 in the back. I get like completely confused which tank I want to shoot, and unfortunately we bounced off the 274 and just completely missed the GSOR. So our Barask died for what's that word again? Absolutely nothing, which was stupid. You see me here reversing, that's because I'm actually typing a message to the Barask that he should have waited to me to be fully loaded, but unfortunately he did what he did. Our Samoa SM shouting for help at the back of the map, literally 50 meters away from artillery whilst in a full HP heavy tank. I decide I'm going to ignore him and basically just use him as a warning system that if the enemies have pushed the 1-2 line. The I-6B has killed our T-28, who I believe... oh, no, sorry, he was just here in front of us. So he's somewhere with the ability to shoot there. Most likely going to be on the 6 line somewhere. I believe their Panther 2 killed one of our guys up on the hill. All we have left on the hill is 2 T-44s, and the game is actually like equal at the minute, although the scores say we're 1 up. Obviously, we are still down our LT-432. The enemies don't know this, because being an LT-432, he could literally be in a bush somewhere. They don't know. And I think that's one of the reasons they haven't actually pushed the 1-2 line, is because they probably think the LT is in one of the bushes on the E line. Our 2 T-44s push down off the hill and attempt to make it down into the river. Because they're doing this, I'm still being very cautious of the I-6 potentially being up on the 6 line. They spot a Panther 2 and the T-34-2. Now, I know they can definitely take the T-34-2 because there's 2 of them. The Panther 2 unfortunately kills one of them, so I'm going to focus fire on the Panther 2, and oh my god. First shot goes incredibly low, but you can see once we're stationary, the accuracy and the aim time just allow us to put all 3 in. And where is it? Here comes the rain. There you go. Kills the Panther 2, who thought it was not necessary to move. Either that or I finished him off. Now we've given our T-44 a very good chance to kill the T-34-2, and he does so, finishing him off on 9 hit points. I'm now completely out of AP ammo, so I actually just... well, I have to change the APCR, which is the first time I will have used it this game. Bearing in mind that it is arguably one of the best ammunitions at tier 8, I'm pretty sure. 321 APCR pen with 1400 meters a second shell velocity. That's insane ammunition to have at tier 8. Honestly ridiculous. And the only reason I'm firing it is because I absolutely have to. IS-6, I spot him up. The Tiger 2 goes up and shoots him. RT, fortunately for me, shoots him. I fire one. I have no idea where that first one went. Absolutely none. And we finish him off. The GSOR on the enemy team takes out our Tiger, and this actually puts us in a bit of a situation. T-44, not on a huge amount of HP, not going to really do much in the riverbed, so he's pretty much out of the game, other than sitting up on the ridgeline and supporting. There's me, still on 700 HP, and obviously got a full clip, and our Samoa, who is on full health, and actually doing exactly what he should be doing now, which is pushing up. However, he's doing it at a really inconvenient time. Again, I'm pinging when I'm reloading. I'm like, I'm reloading. I type very quickly, wait for me to get to the mid, because I don't want this Samoa to go in, spot everything and die, but I'm not in a position to capitalise because I'm still over on this side of the rails. At this point, we want our T-44 to push up to here as well. I'm not really sure if he is. And our Samoa is just 100% going for it, and I'm like, oh my god. I just had visions of him getting absolutely blapped, because obviously their GSOR, if he can kill the Samoa, which he really is, before I can get into a position to kill him, our Samoa could really be in trouble. Fortunately, the GSOR on the enemy team had pushed up a little bit. The Samoa, at least I hope, kind of knew what it was doing, and actually did manage to put a couple of shells into enemy GSOR. I put one in, and RT finishes him off. 274, I can't actually see him, so I just decide to keep moving, because I need to close the distance. In case of an eventuality such as that, where the 274 actually set the Samoa on fire, RT finishes him off, which fortunately for us reveals his position. I put one into the floor like a moron, second one goes in, and then fortunately for me, that was actually a very fortunate move that artillery finished off that GW, because if RT didn't finish him off and I had to finish him off, I would have then been on a full reload, which would have meant 45 seconds. If the 274 decides to rush me, I die. The T-44 is not in a position to help. The LT-432 is not connected. And then it's just up to RT whether I die or not, and then whether they get the next one or not. The 274 puts one into me, but fortunately for me, I just shoot him. I take my time about the shot, make sure that it goes in, because like I said, if I did mess that up, it's more than likely that he would have killed me, and then the game was left pretty much to RT, to be fair, which is not very good for me. But yeah, very, very nice game. 4,883 damage. I feel like we had a very good game. This game kind of reminds me of, if any of you have watched my Barras game. I think the video is titled Nearly 2k Base XP from a couple of weeks ago. You know, playing on Prohorovka, playing the mid-ridge, then moving up as your team takes the east. Take the east, kill any remaining tanks kind of in the heavy tank pocket from going into that nice position on the rails, covered from the forest by the rail car, and then moving back and pushing down the 1-2 line to finish off. Yeah, 4,883 damage that we saw, 700 assisted damage, and probably quite crucially actually, 420 blocked by armor from that 53 TP, although he did roll massively, massively high, which, you know, kind of evens the score a bit. But anyway, let's go take a very quick look at the post-game stats. So, there we go, guys. Ace Tanker, as I said before, absolutely amazing game. We also got a high caliber and a Confederate, which is quite nice. Didn't finish off that many tanks, only 3, but damaged a fair few. We actually ended up doing 5,563 damage that game, because we did hit a couple of blind shots. I believe we hit that Panther 2 blind at the start, and I think we also put 1 blind into that Panther 2, what am I trying to say, later on. I also, no, we didn't hit a blind shot on the 274, which is kind of annoying, but oh well. Yeah, absolutely mad. 5,563 damage, 3 kills, and 1,282 base XP. We didn't actually finish top of XP this game, surprisingly. Our artillery putting in an absolute shift, to be fair to him, doing 3,488 damage and getting 5 kills, so very well played to that artillery on my team. We fired 30 shots, hit 27 and penned 19. Not the best pen ratio, but to be fair, a lot of those shots were kind of quite speculative. obviously at quite long range, and sometimes they were just, you know, my pen or the accuracy RNG did kind of let me down a bit. We made an absolute butt ton of credits that game. The standard base of the tank, personal reserve bonus I had on, and also the Christmas event bonus, making 242,000 credits, so 160k profit. Like I said, the ammunition in this tank is quite expensive, so if you do have to carry a game and fire a lot, it is quite expensive. And obviously, premium consumable as well does take it out of you. A 13-minute game. I am aware this tank review is really quite long, but I feel like it needed to be to get everything in, and also obviously a decent amount of XP, which I would say great for crew training, but considering I'm using a standalone crew on this tank, at least for now, not so great really, other than helping me play this tank. But this tank is definitely, like I said before, on my recommended list. Either if you want some gold and you do buy the Christmas loot boxes and manage to get lucky and get it, or if this thing does get sold by itself later on, definitely would recommend picking this thing up. I will definitely be using it as one of my premium tanks that I play in rotation, which will be quite nice. And yeah, I'm going to stop waffling because I'm pretty sure this video is getting on to be a very, very long one, so I will let all you lovely people go if you're still watching. If you have enjoyed this video, guys, or found it useful in any way, then please consider subscribing. If you're new to the channel, no, I've done that the wrong way. Please like the video. If you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing, because apparently I'm crap, but people are into that. And other than that, thank you very much for watching, guys, and I'll see you next time.